To all the listeners of the Truth is Still Straight podcast, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain to you. First of all, it's free, and that's what I love about it. There are also creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many other places. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. You heard that, in one place. So download your free Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm. Once again, you can download, whether you have Android or iPhone, you can download the free app from there, or you can go to anchor.fm to get started. Thank you. You're listening to Between the Truth, brought to you by the Truth is Still Straight podcast with your hosts, Jonathan St. James, LaDonna Marie, Danica Nicole Worthy, and Jim. Thank you for tuning in and listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is our next guest, Elisa. I'd like to introduce her to the podcast. Hi, Elisa. How are
Hi,
you?
Jonathan. I'm good.
That's good to hear from you. Just a little backstory to Elisa and how I've gotten to know her as of recent. So, of course, I was doing a look through some Instagram posts, and I won't delve too much into her story because I think it's more important that she tell it. But anyway, this is basically a story about our own health, yours, mine, and everyone else's. And so she posted something about herself that she shared with everyone. It was a pretty eye-opening story for myself. As of recent, I've went through things like an appendicitis, diabetes, and stuff like that. So when I actually read her story, I opened my eyes, and it really made me want to continue to monitor myself, to go to doctor's appointments. And that's something that we as people tend to not want to do. And some of us have to be really in death's bed to get up and go to a hospital or go to a doctor and see what's wrong with us. So without saying too much more, Elisa, if you don't mind telling what the actual post was about, and then we can take it from there.
Yeah, sure. So November 30th is my anniversary of when I had to have a total colectomy, which is the removal of my large intestine. Um, and it's just a date that will forever resonate with me because it was a life-changing surgery that 3 years later, I'm still, learning new things and how to live a whole life with the adjustment. So a little backstory: I have ulcerative colitis, and I was diagnosed in 2013. I literally went to a festival down in Miami. At the time, I was living in Orlando. I leave the festival, driving home to Orlando, which is only about a 3-hour drive, and I start having like an upset stomach. And at the time, I will always talk to my mom, and I'm like, "Hey, mom, my stomach's upset. I need to go to the bathroom. I don't know what to do." She was like, "Well, find a Starbucks or something, but you can't be on the road like that." I was like, "Maybe it's something I ate." Before I could even figure that out, I couldn't control my bowel movement, and I literally had to go clean up in the nearest Walmart, buy clothes, put them on, get home. And it started a bout of diarrhea for 2 weeks. After having diarrhea for a week, I went to my general practitioner. They're like, "Oh, maybe it's something you ate. Watch it." I said, "Okay." So I'm having diarrhea and I'm taking Pedialyte and just trying to stay hydrated. 2 weeks in, I start to no longer have diarrhea, but just started passing blood in my bowel movements. And I went back to the doctor. At that point, they referred me to a gastroenterologist. And you get referred, but you don't get an appointment the next day. So I want to say maybe another week went by, and at this point the pain starts, and I started passing blood in my urine, and we just knew something was not right. Finally got with the gastroenterologist, and I would say this about all doctors: they never tell you the whole truth, and they never tell you really much any not factual but concrete information, because they truly don't know. They just know how to diagnose. They don't know how to cure you. They don't know how to help you get better. They're just literally taking your symptoms, and like the rest of us would do, they don't use WebMD, but that's pretty much what they're doing. They're going through their head like, okay, what do these symptoms resonate with? What could it be? And it started months of, I call it the guinea pig phase. I was taking tests for all type of diseases. They were testing negative. My main concern is I hope I don't have cancer. So that came back negative, and it just kept on with the blood tests, the endoscopies. So that's when the camera goes down your throat to see your digestional tract. It tracks it for a whole 24 hours. Then you go back, they review your images, they tell you what they find. I had to do colonoscopies. That's when the camera goes through your rectum, up all the way to your, as far as it can go. Sometimes they try to go to like your lower intestine, see what's going on. And they can see like inflammation and things that look like my large intestine was upset, but they didn't really know. And at first they said maybe it's Crohn's disease, maybe it's your small intestine and your large intestine, or maybe it's just your small intestine. So did the exams for that, tested negative for Crohn's. Did the test for ulcerative colitis, they came back negative, but there are many different types of ulcerative colitis, just like there's over hundreds of different IBD syndromes and diseases. So it was just one of those things. After a series of many medications, my symptoms started to worsen, and I couldn't stomach anything. And then finally we came across a cocktail that worked for me. So it's kind of like it's an autoimmune disease. So like any autoimmune disease, the goal is to get it dormant, because according to them, there's no cure. That's a story for another day. But anyway, we've
Gotcha. And we will repeat that if we have another day to come back
yeah,
and
yeah,
whatever
because I
further
have my own
information you'd
gripe
like
with
to
stuff like
share.
that. But they didn't know where I got
Hmm.
it from. They said it could be genetic. No one in my immediate family line shown to have this. No one knew what it was. My parents didn't know what it was. We're Googling, we're trying to understand, we're trying to read up on it. And there was not that much information out there that was easy, and there was a lot of unknowns, and it didn't show many people like myself with it. It showed a lot of white people, but I didn't see a lot of brown people, and I
Hmm.
was starting to get really discouraged. So long story short, to that part, they realized I did have ulcerative colitis. The doctor assured me that, oh, it's acute, it's just about 6 inches of your colon, you're fine, you'll be fine, people live with this. And I start this regimen of 8 pills a day, every day, in hopes that I can not run to the bathroom every 15 minutes. Because at this point, I was living in my bathroom. I could not leave the house. Eventually, it started to work. We tried different things. Fast forward, I'm good. Every now and again, I would have what they call a flare. So you're having, the upset stomach, you're running to the bathroom, what you're eating is not agreeing with you. I'm cutting out all type of stuff. I'm cutting out dairy. I'm gonna be a vegan. I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. And at the end of the day, everything I put in my system wore me out. From ice down to bread, down to baby food. Like, my body just was like, no.
Wow.
Because unlike Crohn's disease, Crohn's has more to do with what you eat, how you eat, what order you eat. Ulcerative colitis is very neuro. So it's just about the communications of your organ to your brain and vice versa. And for my brain, my organ did not belong in this body. And my organ was like, this is foreign and I'm fighting everything around me. So even though I was born with this organ, it did not like me and my body did not like it. So that's what was going on. Couple years go by, I start to wean down my dosage. I was on it was called Lialda. I weaned down my dosage on that, and I was getting to a place where I thought I was good. But like anything, these things can be triggered with stress, and I couldn't really tell you what was going on. Well, I could. I had lost my job like maybe 2 months prior, and leading up to losing my job, because I was
Hmm.
I was under a lot of harassment and things like that, and HR and a lawsuit and all these things, I think just really took me over the edge. I started having symptoms. But when you're a couple years into your disease and you learn to live with it, you start to shift and move and bounce the way you do when you normally have flares. So for me, that meant I'm eating easy processed foods. I'm trying to do enemas to flush my system. I'm making sure I take my doses not just every day, but at the same time every day. And I'm trying to be diligent. And then usually when you have flares, they give you a cocktail mixed with steroids to get you back on track. So I go to the not the emergency room, but the urgent care. I'm like, hey, you're not my GI. This is what my GI gives me. This is what works. Can you just prescribe me this? Let me do this for 3 weeks. I should be straight. And that's when it all began. 3 weeks came and went. I was not straight. I went from uh, constant diarrhea to the pain. And it was to the point where the maximum dose of pain meds you could take over the counter was not helping. It got to a point
Mhm.
where breathing hurt. And I would just keep telling myself it's going to pass because I was just so accustomed to living in pain. I did not understand the magnitude of pain or what my body was really going through. It just took
Mhm.
one morning. At the time, my mom has passed now, but at the time, I would talk to her every day. And I remember this one morning, she goes, Ellie, how are you feeling? I said, not good. She goes, what did you eat yesterday? I said, I ate a can, a half a canister, whatever, the little bottles baby food comes in. I ate a half a can of green peas of baby food. And she goes, for the whole day. And I said, that's all I could eat. And I was losing weight drastically. And I just told her, I said, I'm in a lot of pain, but I'm going to take my son to school and come home and lay back down. And that was my routine. I was like literally just shuttling my kid to school, be in the bed all day or on the toilet and literally scrum up enough energy to get him and literally same cycle. And at the time my son was 6 and he would come home, get my slippers for me, bring me a blanket, check on me. He's damn near making his own food. Like it was horrible, you know? And I remember this one day she says to
Mhm.
me in tears, begging me, please, when you drop Tyler to school, promise me you'll go to the ER. And I just felt like, what is the ER going to do? They're going to check your vitals and send you home. And I said, all right, mom, you know what? I'll go. And I shot a text to my girl group. I was like, hey, girls, I just dropped my son off at school. Can somebody pick him up? I'm going to take myself to the ER. Can somebody pick him up from school? I just don't know how long I'll be in the ER. I'm going to take myself to the ER. And a girlfriend of mine called me. She goes, nope, I'm going to come take you to the ER. And don't worry, my other girlfriend was like, I got your son. I was like, all right, cool. She was like, and I'll keep him for the weekend. We just want to know what's going on. I was like, all right. I pack a little bag. I go to ER. In my mind, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna be in and out. Not the case. They gave me, they said I needed testing and they wanted to schedule me for a colonoscopy, but the ER doesn't do that. So they gave me these pain meds. They gave me, I think, morphine, something very strong. They're like, listen, just coast till your colonoscopy. And by this time, my parents were on their way up from Florida to stay with my son because they're like, listen, we're not going to leave until we know what's going on. I said, okay. I get back home. We're all home. Dad's cooking food. I'm not feeling great. 2 days go by. My GI doctor here calls me. She says, Elisa, I need for you to stop taking those pain meds because they could be eating the lining of your stomach. And I said, okay. And I said, I don't know. I said, it's going to be painful, but all right, I'll stop taking them. And literally within 24 hours, I called her back. And my words to her were, I don't think I'm going to make it to my colonoscopy. I'm in a lot of pain. And she goes, check yourself into the ER. So I went. They admitted me. I was so malnutrition. They didn't know if it was my ulcerative colitis or some type of bacterial disease. So I had to be quarantined for 2 nights until my blood work came back. So literally just how people are living in COVID, that's how I was in the hospital 3 years ago. The nurses had to come in hazmat suits. If my family came to see me, they had to wear hazmat suits, coming in, going out, washing hands, disinfect. Like it was crazy. And then thank God the test came back negative for any pathogens, and they released me into the ICU unit, where that's where I stayed for about 6 weeks of a progression of tests. And they tried a bout of Remicade, which is a steroid medication, but I couldn't get it right away. I was so malnutrition, they had to build my body up. And that's partly why I was in the hospital so long, because they were feeding me through a tube. I no longer could ingest anything orally because they needed to see what was going on in my stomach, and it was freaking painful. Um, so I lived on an IV for weeks. And same thing again one night. The pain just felt really different. And I called my sister and I just asked her to stay with me on the phone to the sunrise. I was scared to go to sleep. I wasn't sure I would get up. I wasn't sure if I'd wake up. And I called my parents, 5 a.m. They usually get up, get my son ready for school. I said, hey guys, when you drop Ty to school, I need you to come to the hospital immediately. Don't make any stops. I'm going to tell them to go ahead with the surgery. I don't think I'm going to make it. Um, and my parents kind of like felt like that's what they wanted to tell me, but they knew it was my decision. So they fully supported that. And by 7 a.m., when my doctors came to do the rounds, before I could tell them, they told me, they were like, we schedule you for emergency operation today. Um, the treatment we're trying is failing and your body's shutting down, basically. And that's how the journey began. So
Now, let me ask you a question. How much time has it been now from the beginning to this point? Like when you first started realizing there was something wrong until this point, how
something
much
wrong
time
from
has
when I was
actually
first
passed?
diagnosed or when I went into the hospital.
From that first time where you were having the issues and then you weren't feeling well to now this point. Now, how much time has passed from the beginning when you noticed there was a change in you to this point where now you're getting the surgery? How much time passed
I'm
in
still
between then?
confused. You're not talking about when the onset when I got diagnosed. You're talking about from when I was doing okay.
From the Right, from when you first started getting symptoms, and you were talking about the incident where you were in Walmart, like
Oh,
around
gotcha.
that time. So from that time, from that moment to the moment where now you're getting surgery,
Yeah,
how
so
much time
that
is
was
that?
4 years. I was doing what I was supposed to
Oh
do,
wow.
but what they never told me, I never know people could die from my disease. I didn't even know it could get so bad that you would need an operation. I didn't know it could get so bad that you potentially could live with a colonoscopy bag for the rest of your life. I didn't even know any of that. So even though they gave me these medications, I didn't think they could fail. You're just so happy to have
Mm.
relief that you're like, all right, this is it. This is what I got to do for the rest of my life. And then things change. And you're like, what now? So it was
So now it's time for the surgery, right? So I didn't mean to get you off of like where I knew you were getting to the point where they were like you got to
yeah.
give you the emergency surgery. So
No,
so
you're
I didn't mean to
good.
distract you
So
from
it
that. So so when so when it gets to the point to the surgery, how long is it? Is it like the same day, the next day? How
Same
soon
day.
was it from
They
that
came in
point
that
now when
morning.
you
They
getting
ran my
okay.
vitals. Um, I had a slight fever, so um, they're not going to do an operation. So instead of going in for noon, they pushed me back and I went in at 5 p.m. But that morning, I had to undergo a lot of counseling because I don't know if it's for all autoimmune diseases, but I definitely know from mine, they do a lot of mental counseling because a lot of people fall into depression if they don't adapt well. So I had to undergo counseling. It was like a scene out of Grey's Anatomy. I had three surgeons, three different type of doctors. It was a team of six and a counselor talking about everything and anything in like an hour briefing because we're about to like change my life indefinitely. That's pretty much what it was. And
Right.
it was said to me the percentages. I don't remember what it was. I think it was a 70% chance success, 30% chance not, meaning they can remove my colon and I'll have a bag temporarily, or there's a chance I could have a bag indefinitely. And Temporarily is what stuck out to me. And I didn't care if temporarily meant 5 years, 10 years, a month, 10 months. I just knew that I had a baby that is expecting me to come home. And I don't care if they had to amputate my legs. That's what was going to happen because I needed to live for the child I already had, you know? So, and at
Yes.
that point, they also explained to me it was going to be a 3-part surgery because I was too weak to do it in 2 parts, like most people. And I was pretty much on the borderline of sink or swim. So I underwent my first operation, done laparoscopically, took 7 hours, and then the operations went on after that for a year.
So what
Total
was the first
removal of my
operation? What
large
did they
intestine
do?
and the creation of my ileostomy. So that's a stoma, and it pretty much means they take being that they remove my whole large intestine, they take my small intestine and they cut a hole in my side and they bring it to the surface of my skin, fold it over, stitch it down. And that's now, for lack of better term, my butthole until I heal on the inside for them to then create a man made colon, which is way smaller than your colon. So it's called a J pouch. And when that heals, then they remove the stoma that's on my stomach, attach it to the J pouch, attach it to my anus. That heals, and you start to relearn how to use the bathroom. So when I had the stoma, that's where the
Mm,
colonoscopy bag attached to. And that was a whole nother new way of life. You go to sleep one way and you wake up on a short learning curve on how to proceed on for the next, for me, 10 months to a year.
right. Now here's the question that I have. So with that, I've seen it. I've seen a colostomy bag before. So you have to change it, and you where do you excrete into the
Yeah,
toilet? Is
yep.
that what you do?
You
Like how do
excrete
you?
into the toilet, and I also used to always carry Ziplocs in case my bag is full and I can't get to a
Hmm.
toilet because I'm very pre-COVID. I was very anal. If a bathroom's not clean, then I have to find another way. There's different type of bags. I like the 2-part system, so that allow, like, when gas fills your bag, instead of you having to open the bottom and go through all that, you can just snap open the top to let the air out if your bag is not full. I like
Hmm.
that better. And I just had to learn a lot of life hacks as far as that colonoscopy bag living went.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
But to this day, I
Yeah.
carry like a small kit. You have your kit when you have a colonoscopy bag, and even though I
So
don't
you
have the bag anymore, I still carry a kit. I still have
right.
sanitizer,
That's what I was gonna ask you.
gloves, baby wipes, you name it, I got it. Like everything in this bag because you just never know.
Hmm. So the question that I have now. So you've made the adjustment to what did you call the
Oh, it's
man-made
called a J pouch.
colon? What did you call that again? Okay,
Yep, I
so
have the
that's
J
the
pouch,
stage you're
and
at now.
as long as it serves its purpose, then I'll have that indefinitely. That that's a whole nother ball game.
Now, is there like a shelf life for it? Like,
No,
does it
no, thank
last so
God for
many
that,
years?
because
Like,
it's your intestine, and it's only your intestines but so long. God forbid,
hmm,
God forbid something happens or just does not work out for you, then you would go back into a bag, but for the rest of your life. There is no such thing as a colon transplant
oh,
or anything like that.
gotcha, gotcha. So, I guess the question that I have now, is there a way, like, are there warning signs that people can look for that may have this? Like, we talk about
Mm-hmm.
like breast cancer, colon cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure and stuff like that, onset of stroke, heart attack. Is there something that people, are there like signs that come together or symptoms that people can say, well, let
Yeah,
me
absolutely.
check this out for that reason?
It comes with a lot of bloating and cramping. Your bowel movements would change and they would get looser. I suggest to anyone, if you're having diarrhea for more than 2 days, start to log and journal everything. Journal what you ate. Journal how long it took for you to go to the bathroom. Journal if your bowel movements are increasing. Look in the toilet. Write down what it looks like. See if you see blood, like all those things. And you don't go to the doctor and go, I think I have. You go, I'm in pain, test me. Because they would just tell you, oh, it'll be fine. Like it must have been something you ate. No, no, test me. Test me for this, test me for that, test me for um IBSs. Say, listen, I have a lot of syndromes. Test me for all the IBDs, the irritable bowel diseases. Find out if it runs in your family. Even if colon cancer is in your family, you have a high chance of having an IBD. Um, and see what triggers it. If you're a person that stresses and notice when you're stressing, you're going to the bathroom more, that could be a sign. Check it out. Look into it. Anybody over 35, 40 should definitely be getting colonoscopies with their checkup. And I think now they say you don't have to do a colonoscopy for X amount of years. But I still tell people, if
Hmm.
anything's funny with your bowel movements, request one. Because what you don't want to happen is you got a colonoscopy
Yeah.
2020. 2021, you feeling funny. You're like, oh, I don't have a colonoscopy to 2025. You wait to 2025 and you got a whole situation that you could have had checked out from 2021. Like, don't let them dictate,
Right.
don't let them
Right.
advocate for you. And I learned that in the hospital. I don't let them speak for me. And I ask all the questions, and I get second opinions, and I hold them accountable. There's times where doctors will say to me, I know that when I travel now, because I don't have a colon, I'm susceptible to catch every bacteria possible. E. coli, um, you name it, I'm gonna catch it. Traveler's diarrhea, I'm gonna catch it because I don't have a colon for buffer. So when I come back from trips
Gotcha.
near or far, I typically have diarrhea, which is hard to tell when you have a J pouch because you no longer produce, once you lose a colon, you no longer produce solid waste. So you have, the way you tell if you have diarrhea
Hmm.
is just by still consistency and urgency. That's how you tell. So I always know the minute I come back, my body funny, and I'll tell them, hey, listen, test me for these bacteria. I'm sure I ate something. And the first thing they want to do is throw it onto my ulcerative colitis. Oh, maybe it's time you start taking this steroid. No, maybe it's not time, because for a whole year I've been straight. I done went to France and came back with something funny. I'm telling you, that's what it is. So we're gonna do this first, and if these cultures come back negative, then we can try what you talk about. But they love to just throw stuff on you, and I tell everybody, don't let them do it.
Yes. Yes. I agree with that. But and so let me ask you this question: when you have an episode, do you feel it? Like how does bowel movements occur now? Do you
Well, I'll
feel the
say
bowel
this.
movement when it happens?
Um, when you have your colon removed, it's considered quote unquote the cure, solely because, not because I don't have the disease, because it still lives within my rectum, but it's just in that,
Hmm.
it's in the cuff of my rectum. That's where it lives, because you cannot take out your rectum because you can't replace it. So I do live with it there. And when my disease is flared up, I get like muscle spasms, but nothing crazy. Nothing like, oh my God. You're just like, oh, okay. Let me watch what I'm eating and doing. My is upset or something, right? Nothing compares to what leads you to have to get surgery. Trust me when I tell you. So I don't even feel like I have episodes now. I'm living my best life wholly as possible. And I could never forget what I went through. So for me, if I'm like, if what I went through is a 10 and the worst I experienced with this is a 2, I'm gravy. I'm counting my blessings and I'm rolling with the punches. If it ever takes me to like a 9, then I'm gonna be very concerned. But as far as pain, I really don't experience that anymore, and I thank God for that, because I don't even know. My doctor even be like, I don't even know how you lived with that pain for so long, but I did. So yeah,
Right.
they're definitely, there's no comparison as far as flares and discomfort go when you try to measure the two. They both come with their gripes, right? So the J pouch is, I had to relearn to control my bowel movements because this is new. My body hasn't used the bathroom that way in a year. So I was like a baby. I had to wear Pampers. Like, you go through different phases and stages and you have to reacclimate and retrain. And now I feel normal. I can go the whole day. I tell you, I'm an interior designer. I'm ripping and running, getting stuff for clients. And I use the bathroom when I came back home. I didn't have to go in the street. Like, it's such, anybody living with this can see their progression, because when I tell you I was clocking the bathroom at least every 30 minutes, that is not an exaggeration. I would plan my day out like, all right, if I go here, where's the
Hmm.
nearest bathroom? If I go out to eat, I'm looking for the bathrooms. It's just crazy. So when you can relieve that anxiety, that's a win in itself. And, coupled with all the other wins you get with it. But you always got to go through something to get the outcome you want. Like, you don't just wake up with a J pouch and life is
Right.
grand. No, absolutely not.
And with that being said, I want to thank you for sharing. So I want to take a short break, and then I want to talk to you about the other things you got going on, in your life, your business, all your stuff that you got going on that I sort of checked out earlier today. So we'll take a short break, and then
Cool.
we'll come back and discuss that. If you're looking for that special gift for that special someone, perhaps you would like to go in style and fight against the coronavirus slash COVID-19 in style, yet pure effectiveness, look no further than Cedar's Boutique, where they have a mask for you, whether it's pre-made or custom to your liking, or for that special gift that you may need. They have plenty more, such as the Cure Collection. Inside the Cure Collection is therapeutics, spa, tea, candle melts and accessories, and bath salts. Now, if that's not enough for you, they have cups, mugs, tea sets, and other items, as well as t-shirts, and soon they'll be selling jewelry. So if you'd like to get your gift today in time for the holidays, or maybe next holiday, you can log on to www.citaspretty.com, and that's CITASPRETTYBOUTIQUE. If you want a little bit more direct approach, you can contact them on Cita Boutique on Instagram. That's at CITABOUTIQUE on Instagram. I guarantee you will not be disappointed. All right, welcome back to the show, the podcast, and I just want to ask Elisa because I did see that she has quite a few things going on business wise. So if she can discuss some of the things that she's doing and also share with us whatever Instagram accounts that she would like people to catch her on, whether it's business, whether it's her personal account, whatever it is, feel free to plug that at some point. So if you can tell us some of the things you are into, some of the things that
Yeah,
you
sure.
do,
So
that would be great.
I was always a creative, but nothing propelled me into my passion more than my disease, because I was no longer able to work. And just being out with all these operations and recovery, I kind of became unhireable. People would look at my resume and go, "Oh, you got great experience, but you have this huge gap." And it got to the point where I wasn't even getting interviews. So I just started really focusing on me, and I started an online store. So that's y-clover.com, and I sell women's accessories on there. And the Instagram for that is Y Clover Boutique. So at the letter Y, Clover Boutique. That's my Instagram handle for my online boutique. And then I just dove headfirst into interior design. I was doing it on the side, odd jobs here and there. And I partnered with a really dope boutique firm in Atlanta named the Riley Method. So I'm one of the lead designers there, and we do everything from residential to commercial spaces. So the Instagram handle for that is the Riley Method Designs. Or if you want to see just my work, I just started putting together that page, and it's L-E-L-L-E, the Design Smith. That's the Instagram handle for that. And then if you just want to keep up with my day to day and my disease and all the things that I like, that's my personal IG, and that's at Just Lisa E. So that's JUSTLISA and the letter E. But you know what's dope about all this, Jonathan? I went through so much and I felt like I lived for a purpose, not just to be here for my son, but just in general, because I feel like I experienced all the hells of my disease. That I'm actually in the process of starting up a nonprofit for it, because there were a lot of things that I had to learn the hard way that I want to be accessible for people, and not just people with my disease, but especially for women, because it's definitely a mental trip. And especially
Right.
for moms, because I'm a single mom. I've been raising my son by myself since I was 38 weeks pregnant. So to have somebody super dependent on you, and then there's really no one for you to bounce your anxieties off of, I definitely want to create a space where that can exist for people, where it's, my insurance is not covering my medication. How do I get it? Because I need it. I had to figure those things out. Or, what do I wear now? I have a whole colonoscopy bag, and I was a bad little something before this. What's going to happen in my life? I had to figure that out.
Hmm.
How do I still be a woman? How do I still be sexy? How do I still feel confident? So, I'm just really working on creating a space for that, and to help people advocate for the best care when it comes to this disease as well, especially people of color. Because let me tell you, all the YouTube videos I was watching, ain't nobody look like me.
Right, right, right. Is there a possibility of a
Yeah,
book coming out of
so
this?
get out of my head, Jonathan. No. So I've journaled a lot in this journey, because people complain about COVID, but I felt like I did a bid, is what I tell people, because it was unexpected. My hospital room had a window the size of a notebook, and thank God I had people visit me every day, but I spent a lot of time alone. And there's a lot to be said in that space. Things that you think, things that you experience, things that you reflect on. You come out of those ashes a less tolerable person, a more in a more intentional person, because you value time differently. You value the impact you make differently. You start to reflect on how you dropped the ball and how you don't want to do that anymore. So I've really been right in my journey, because I'm just giving you the surface, but it definitely gets extremely layered, from just life things, life traumas that happen within the whole breakdown. I told you my mom was with me in the beginning, and she's not here any longer. So it's just a lot that I experienced and had to carry on my back while managing mental stability to undergo these operations. It was one operation I pushed back 2 months, because mentally I wasn't there. And you have to be mentally ready to be put down and release all your concerns to the surgeon who's literally had your life in their hands. And people may think, oh, they're putting me down. But if your heart and your mind is not right, you might not make it out of there. You know what I mean? So
That's
yeah,
so
I
true.
definitely have been writing. I write constantly. And I think, all this time, even though I'm super busy with interiors in my downtime, I think I'm definitely at the point where I'm going to have an editor start, looking and tweaking. But any little bit of the book I have shared, people are crying, people are like ready to reevaluate their life and do better. And that always makes me feel good. I feel like I didn't go through what I went through in vain. I mean, it was not fun, but it means a lot when you can at least keep someone going through what I'm going through on the up and up. I've talked to a lot of young adults that have this disease that contemplated giving up altogether. And, it's something to be said to show people that life definitely goes on. You're going to have to get through a couple of storms, but trust me, you can still have a beautiful life. And, I really feel good about that part. There's things I will definitely give back about all of this, but that
Mhm.
that I'll keep paying
Right.
it forward as much as I can. Like literally, when I came out of my operation, Jonathan, I had tons of medication that I didn't use, that worked, that didn't work, that I've spent thousands on. Some were covered, some weren't. And I literally put up an IG post. I said, I'm looking for someone who has my disease. You have to be prescribed by your doctor for any of these medications. They are sealed. They've never been opened. These are the dates I received them. I just want to pay them forward. If I can help someone save $700 on their medication this month, let's do it. I had bags left over I donated because, you throw away the ones you use, of course. Bags, um, adhesive,
Right. Right.
you name it, I was giving it away. But they had to not be covered by their insurance. They had to, have some type of hurdle, not sure about the medication, so they're in between two, like anything. And I donated it to folks that just needed it. So that's where I'm at with that.
That sounds wonderful that you were able to tragedy that you experienced just, and I think that's a wonderful thing. So I hope that you do follow through on your book. I think it's very important. One of my co-hosts that is an author, I would like to put you in contact with her just so you can get a perspective of writing a book and stuff like that. So I'm sure you may know some people already, but I know she's an award-winning author who travels around the country, selling her. She has several books now, so they're pretty good. I would like to put you in contact with her, so at least you can kind of have a network out there and get some inspiration from her. I mean, she hasn't been what you've been through, but she's I've known her for several years now. She's gone a very long way, and I think I think you should really write that book. I think it's very important that you get out there and you share with people, because so many people are in the dark, and you'd be surprised just showing up somewhere one day at some convention or some workshop or some event, some women's day,
Yeah,
some
some women's
something, some
empowerment.
award, and you just, I mean, I'm not a woman, but when I saw your story, I was really moved by it, like really moved. That it really opened my eyes, it touched me, it made me realize how precious life is, especially when you're a parent and you do have children that you have a close tie to, or family, or somebody that depends on you to be there for them. Just a lot of times we wait late in life to address them. You don't want to wait till it's
Right,
like your last breath to say, "Oh, now I want to live." But that happens
right.
a lot. A lot of people wait until they're in their deathbed, and then now they want help. But it's so hard at that point in life when your body is deteriorated so much that it's very, very, very grim that you're going to recover because you've waited so long till there's nothing left inside of you. So I think it's important that, even if you don't write a book, a motivational speaker or something that encourages people, that they can live life, they can go through things like you went through, or other things that would be similar, where life continues, they can still find happiness, they can still enjoy life after whatever it is that they've experienced, whether it's what you went through, or cancer or anything that
Right.
people go through. Appendicitis, I mean, people don't think that's nothing, but it was not easy recovering from that, and it's not even serious what you had, but it's just people understanding the motivation to be happy, to enjoy life, and to continue on, and allow yourself to become stronger as an individual, whether it's mentally, spiritually, and physically. People just need to understand those things, because people are so it's and in this day and age, I'm learning to open up to people when there's something wrong with me, because for so long I've been the one that really hid whatever I was going through from the world. So I think it's important that we do have people who are hiders in this world, that they may hear someone and be motivated to tell somebody what they're going through, a friend, somebody that can drive them to the emergency room, pick
Right.
them up from surgery, stuff like that. It's just important, because so many people suffer in silence in the background and stay quiet, don't, they're embarrassed. I remember when I was in the hospital myself, my biggest embarrassment was going to the bathroom on myself. And I remember constantly apologizing to the person that had to clean up after me. I was like, I'm sorry.
And they're like, this is what we
I
do
was
all the
that was
time.
Right. That's what they said. They said, don't
Yep.
worry about it. This is right. This is my job. But you still, this is you going through this for the first time, and it's
Right.
like, I've just never been in that situation before. So although it didn't bother them, because they've probably dealt with hundreds of that. But this is me the first time, the second time, the third time, and it was shameful for me, because I just never was in a predicament where I couldn't depend on myself.
Right.
So I think it's people to be encouraged when they're going through things, so that they know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You know, there are ways, that, and I don't know how many people are afflicted with the same thing that you've went through, but I'm sure there's enough that, or at the genesis of going through what you're going through, that you could help them navigate through what they will experience, or at least give them inspiration. So, I think you should really consider that book. And I'm going to make sure I keep on top of seeing what your progress is at specific times. And definitely, as you're doing things from time to time, I'll invite you back on the show. You can give us an update on what's going on with you, if you don't mind that. Of course, that's with your permission. So, I'll get the authorization now to be like, you want to come back on the show again? And then you'll
Sure,
let me know if
sure.
you're coming back.
For sure. Next time we can do like Instagram live or something. Get
Oh, yeah,
some folks
definitely. Definitely.
engaged.
Definitely, we can do Instagram live. We can try that. I definitely will post this link on Instagram, and I'll give it to you so you can post it as well. So again, I want to thank you for coming on the show. If you can plug your personal Instagram one last time, so that, because I do know you do have a link to your some of the other places that you mentioned,
Yep,
because
on
I
the
did
personal
join.
one. Thanks,
Right.
Jonathan.
Right.
Yeah, so you can always find me at Just Lisa E. So it's JustLisaE. That is my personal IG, and kind of the gate to all the other ones.
Yes, you will find the other stuff, and it's very. Now, let me ask you: those T-shirts. How are you affiliated with those shirts I saw you wearing?
Oh, so that's funny you asked. So my friend who's a writer, he's also an editor who's helping me with my book. That's his coin phrase, and he did a collab with um Leg Day. Yeah, that's what it's called, Leg Day. Leg Day and him did a collaboration, and Leg Day has an apparel line, coined my friend's phrase, and that's where that stems from. So culture is currency is Bonsu Thompson's uh I guess ism, his first like
Hmm.
publicized ism. And yeah, we just been supporting the movement. I'm very big on relationships, so I've known him for over 10 years. A lot of people I've known since like kindergarten. I'm that person. So yeah, that's what that's about. And the link, I have the link, same thing on my IG. There's a link tree. It links you to all the things I love. So you can definitely roll on through there and let them know I sent you. They probably give you a little discount.
Good. Sounds good. So again, I want to thank you. This will not be the last that we hear from Elisa. So keep tuning in to the next time she comes on. We'll definitely find something else that she, as you can see, she knows how to share. So that's who we love, people who know how to share things on a podcast. So she'll be our show's friend. Maybe even have her co-host a few times. You know, who knows? Depending on her availability. But again, I'm going to thank you for coming, and I look forward to hearing from you the
Yeah, it was
next
great.
time.
Thanks for having me, Jonathan.